and welcome to Newsroom Next, the Tech Mahindra podcast where we talk with newsroom leaders across the globe and listen to their inspiring stories about how they're bringing innovation in and dealing with headwinds like subscriber churn, subscriber fatigue, and even the challenges of an advertising market. I'm Chauhan, and I lead Tech Mahindra's media and entertainment practice. Today, we have two absolute stalwarts from the media and entertainment industry. We have Tim O'Rourke, the Vice President of Content Strategy at Hearst Newspapers, and Evan Wagstaff, the Director of Newsroom Engineering. Gentlemen, good day. Thank you for joining us.
No, thanks for having us, and excited to talk about kind of the work that we get to do in our newsrooms. And this is a little bit about us. As Jay said, I'm the VP of Content Strategy. What does that mean? It means I was a journalist who came up through the San Francisco Chronicle newsroom, did a bunch of different jobs, reporting, editing, running the website as we built that up, and all the way up to managing editor. And we recruited Evan from another paper, and he came in and became really one of our first top-level engineers based in the newsroom with a journalism background. So we've been working together for a long time, and now we're on the central Hearst team working with all the newsrooms, including San Francisco and others.
And I'm sorry, should I go ahead? Let's do it. I'm Evan Wagstaff, Director of Newsroom Engineering at the DevHub. I run a team of devs. We do engineering work here. We produce trackers to show people what's going on in their area. We work on the C2P program, which you hear more about, that empowers newsrooms to publish templates with very little developer interference. And just bringing tech to the broader newsrooms.
Great. So we're going to quickly go through a couple topics here for you all. I'm going to talk about, how Hearst and HMP and the DevHub are structured. I'm going to talk a little bit about the work that we're doing. Then Evan's going to go ahead and talk about more of the technical background on the projects and priorities that we're working on now in 2024. And then we're going to go into some of the newsroom innovation around artificial intelligence, machine learning, and automation that we've really kind of doubled down on in the past year or so. So right out front, Hearst is a massive company that we work for. You can see all the map points here. Basically, it's not just newspapers for sure. It's not just consumer media. It's all kinds of data. It's all kinds of different types of companies, including health companies and Fitch ratings. And, it's this huge assortment of really smart companies, some B2B, some B2C, and we're in a smaller piece of that. We are focused on Hearst Newspapers, which is now called H&P, and Evan and I both primarily assist our newsrooms, and you can see all the many newsrooms here on this map, and it's an ever-growing list. We still are acquiring different properties and focusing everybody on the digital future. And it's fun for us to get to be able to work in such different kind of media environments, from the hyper-local to the kind of traditional local to even the bigger regional places like the San Francisco Chronicle that have a national footprint in many topics. For our team and for the newsrooms as a whole, what we're really doing, like Evan said, is we're trying to place tech across all the different kinds of journalistic endeavors that we do. And we really look at 5 separate pillars that our modern newsrooms need to be successful online and on different platforms as we move away from print while still respecting print. So we, number one, without a doubt, just foundationally need to have the region's best news coverage. We need TV, we need nonprofit sites, we need the nationals chasing us. We need to have the best news coverage, period. In addition to that, we need to have voices that connect with our communities. This is not just traditional columnists, although that's important, but also in some markets it's podcast hosts, and others it's people who do videos as hosts or agents. It's people who develop followings on their beats, and it's all kinds of different journalism content through a human voice. We need to continue to be best in our community when it comes to investigations and enterprise journalism. This is the big swing, capital J journalism that really defines traditional newspaper newsrooms, the stuff that other places might not take the time to do and do right. And we will continue to invest in that. More on the digital side, these last two, which are vitally important to both our brand and the quality of our journalism. And that's we need to do more and better reader service and utility products. What are the things that we can do that make our readers' lives a little bit easier, make our lives a little bit safer, and really kind of speak to people in local communities, because that's where our niche is. How do we do high quality journalism and utility products for local audiences? And then a lot of what we're going to be talking about here is the data and interactive journalism. So this is the stuff that really wows our readers. It separates us from sites that are mass producing content, possibly with AI or possibly just as aggregation. It separates us from TV, which focus on video and breaking news. It separates us from the nationals because nobody's doing this kind of local interactive and data journalism anywhere across the country. If we can have these 5 pillars going at all times, we can be modern, successful newsrooms that continue to build our staffs and do more great local local journalism in our communities. So what is the DevHub? It's a team. Really, there's not an exact example anywhere in America, at least. And it came out of the San Francisco Chronicle newsroom. We invested in journalist engineers like Evan, who have backgrounds in traditional journalism, but have coding skills, computer science skills as well. And we started building different projects as part of the San Francisco Chronicle newsroom. They were really successful, and Hearst had the foresight to say, look, like, we want to make this a kind of bedrock piece of what we do for local news. So I needed bodies. Hearst believed in the mission and the strategy, and so Hearst invested, and we were able to add people to the team to build interactive projects and experiential journalism for markets beyond San Francisco. At that point, I was still working in San Francisco as managing editor, but we started expanding the program and we kept finding success. And so now we've grown the team, and we're officially part of Hearst Newspaper's central team, and we work every day with journalists from New York to Connecticut, Texas, San Francisco, all across the country. This is our small but mighty team. There's a few dozen more data and interactive journalists that are positioned in the market specifically that aren't on this team, but we are kind of the hub for the hub and spoke strategy. And the cool thing with this, the type's really, really small, so I apologize about that. But the really cool thing is if you look at some of these newsroom titles, these are titles that nobody would have seen in a newsroom, even the big nationals a few years ago, right? And definitely not in local journalism in any way, shape, or form until very recently. And, it's been really cool to be able to build this team up, with folks like Evan and the others on here to kind of do this, future focused next level journalism that still respects the quality that we need from our top newsrooms, but also helps empower newsrooms of all sizes across our group. So, this includes newsroom and AI and automation jobs, as well as engineering and content strategy jobs as well.
So Tim, is this a trend that you're seeing, perhaps not in the US, but are you seeing this sort of trend globally, anywhere else?
I've heard
a fairly tech empowered newsroom.
Yeah, so I'm not going to pretend that I have a comprehensive knowledge of everything going on, but as I've been talking to more publishers in Europe through different programs, they've definitely started going in this direction, and you see more teams, especially in the AI direction, which we'll get to later, where they're trying to make that really a core component of their newsrooms and really focus more on how can traditional tech or code meet traditional journalism and really create something better for the reader that's focused on, local or regional communities and, kind of separate themselves, because there's so much competition now. This is a way to really kind of stake a claim that we're different, we create unique content, and that we can give you something that's worth the price of admission that maybe others can't.
Got it.
So this is just a representation of some of the different stuff that we do. It's all kinds of maps, it's all kinds of interactives, it's all kinds of different tools. It's stuff that's meant to be experiential, put visuals at the forefront while still kind of having a backbone of solid reporting and journalism. A lot of what we do is data-based, and a lot of what we do is interactive.
And how strong is your data practice? Because a lot of folks in the media industry, typically legacy broadcasters or legacy publishers, have sort of a data mess instead of a data mesh, where you've got data in silos, teams having access to PII information that shouldn't be. For example, data governance all over the place. So what's been your journey as far as data warehousing and governance, in terms of getting up shape?
Yeah, at a really broad, high level, Hearst has prioritized overall data throughout the organization in the past few years, to the point that we've recently hired a chief data officer to work over the consumer media divisions. It's ever more part of the technical side of the operation, and really meshing, the needs to build up our first party data platforms and also have better governance rules across the different silos that we've traditionally had, and really to kind of break down those barriers. Our team's more involved in just the reader focused data editorial, data journalism piece. And, those folks, very talented, less traditional database engineers and more about data visualization, data analysis, data storytelling, and, bringing statistical backgrounds to journalism, bringing, in some cases, more analytical perspective. Maybe they didn't even come from journalism, but they have a background in statistics or a different industry, but it's adjacent to kind of what we do. Those are the folks that we're hiring on the editorial side to strengthen the overall data infrastructure on our side. Here on the DevHub, this slide represents our 3 core lanes. The fourth is AI automation and machine learning, which I'll talk about here in a little bit. The first is the team that Evan oversees, the editorial engineering team. Again, everybody's a trained journalist, but these are people who build stuff from the code up. These are our entire election rig, pulling dozens, if not hundreds, of back-end feeds into our system, and being able to provide our readers with local election results, up to the minute, like you'd see with the New York Times or some of the bigger publications. Really kind of looking forward and building new types of experiences, whether it's 3D or something more immersive, and really being out front on that. In the middle lane, we've got visual storytelling. This is more of the traditional like data visualization, but interactive type journalism that you might see. There's a lot of excitement around this when we recruit smart students out of top universities here. A lot of cross newsroom collaboration going on in this space, where a data reporter in, say, San Antonio might work with our team to do something more innovative, more technical around a data set that they've pulled. And then when it's a really perfect alignment, maybe we can find a national data set that represents that topic and be able to spread it across our group efficiently. And then the third is our self-service templates, which we call our C2Ps, which is click to publish. And this is, we recently were nominated for an IMA award in this area. It's a full program that we've built over the years, but really renovated and refined last year through a lot of the work that Evan and his team did. And it's up to 25 to 30, depending how you slice it, different templates for our newsrooms to use, so they can publish interactive journalism in different formats without needing a developer or an engineer sitting next to them doing the code in a bespoke way for that particular project. So the examples of these would be like, a top list that has a map component and a more list focused thing instead of being just a wall of text. It could be a visual essay that's photo driven first. It could be scrollytelling, where we take the reader through a map or a graphic or even visuals, traditional visuals, so that they're kind of learning about something or getting the story told to them in a way that is far more visual, far more mobile than just, again, a wall of text. Timelines, feedback loop tools, where we ask readers for their opinion on something, and we have that piped in through a template into our Slack interface. Something like a poll, something simple like that. Or we do an Athlete of the Week program, where we let the community vote on which high school kids should be the Athlete of the Week. So you get a lot of engagement from parents in that way. So all kinds of different programs, all kinds of different templates that we manage and maintain. And Evan will talk a little bit more about the ones we're focusing on in 24 when he's speaking in a little bit.
Tim, just a quick question about the typical profile of someone on the team. I noticed that a lot of them were newsroom engineers or so. Are all of them pretty much journalism graduates with engineering degrees as well, or like what's kind of the mix that you've got?
That's a good question. So some, like Evan, are self-taught. More and more as this becomes more common practice in journalism and it spreads out of just the big nationals. A lots of really sharp students are graduating with dual degrees, CS and journalism, or CS in a related journalism field, but they work for the paper or they intern somewhere. So most of the folks we recruit, all the folks we recruit on the developer engineering side have dual skill set, and a lot of them now are coming out of school with dual major type arrangements. So but back when we were first bringing Evan on board and some other folks, a lot of self-taught, right? Like you run into problems because your CMS is clunky. It gets you frustrated. You learn how to do a little bit of code here and there. You fix something, then you fix something else. You fix something else, and take a couple classes and watch a couple videos. And the next thing you know, you're the de facto newsroom developer, and we build from there.
Well, Ryan is a great example of that, right? Because he came in as a graphics reporter, had a huge interest in AI, started doing AI on the side, and now he's our deputy director of AI and automation. So, that's going to be huge for us, and it came out of a side interest of his.
Yeah, great example.
So I also noticed that since you have so many sort of builders in the team, are you more of do you subscribe more to the build versus buy philosophy, or kind of the other way around? For example, is your CMS off the shelf, or is it completely sort of homegrown?
So overall, the company does do a lot, definitely we're okay with going out there and working with vendors and buying products off the shelf. And we do that kind of analysis to make sure we're not going to spend more money and staff time than we would if we could buy the product. But on our team, we are more bootstrapped because we have to kind of move at the pace of news. And so, yeah, we oftentimes we do build first and try to look for efficiencies there. The CMS is currently there's a print CMS that's kind of downstream with the print hubs, and the digital CMS is basically proprietary at this point. It's a little old. Luckily, we don't have to maintain that. That's the best part of our job probably. But for our team, it's really like we look around and make sure there's not something that's just like a perfect fit. And if there's not, then we tend to find a way to build it in a way that's flexible and can work for our newsrooms quickly, because they kind of move, day to day to day.
Got it. So in an IT sort of a world, you'd probably be seen as data consumers and producers rather than the source data per se, I guess.
Yeah, although that is changing in our organization a little bit, where we're looking more toward how can we take the things that we build on the road, and starting with our kind of partner organizations, Hearst Television and Hearst Magazines, can they find efficiencies? Can they, do different types of journalism through the products that we build? And that's ever more kind of in focus for us. Great. So this is real general, but Hearst is a profit-driven company, right? So, we wouldn't just have this team doing cool stuff if it didn't work. The bottom line is the kind of interactive journalism we do, the data-driven journalism that we do in partnership with our newsrooms, the tools that we build, anything that we kind of really, we measure very closely how that stuff performs, and across the board, especially for conversion there in the middle, this kind of work outperforms standard articles, standard, inverted pyramid type structures, years and years on end, right? And these numbers are only growing percentage wise. So, we're super excited about that trajectory, and we really are preaching to our newsrooms, who are all on different stages of their evolution, that they need to do more of this kind of work. It doesn't replace everything, and it never will, but it needs to be a big part of the diet that we provide to our readers, because they're looking for something that's exciting. They're looking for something that grabs their attention. They're looking for something that goes a little bit deeper or tells stories in a different way, and we can provide that through those 3 different lanes I explained earlier.
So if I may ask on this slide, what's projects versus articles? What does that mean exactly?
Yeah, that's a good question. So projects is basically a placeholder term we use internally for interactives, or the stuff that the DevHub builds or collaborates on. It's just we work in a sandbox environment with our stuff. We're slowly moving it into the new front end system, but we're able to measure based on this kind of broad term, and it kind of covers all the different types of work that we do.
And articles would be just regular articles.
Articles would be like anything the newsroom produces, traditional like reporter to editor publish type situation. So usually almost always text-based, and different varying links, but really a kind of traditional news article.
Understood. Thank you.
Yep. So now I'm going to pass it to Evan to talk about what we're working on right now.
Yep. Happy to talk about kind of our focus for 2024. First and foremost is the election coming in November. We've got this massive general election, lots of unprecedented aspects about it. We're going to have to be supporting all of our major markets, including probably some of our community markets, at the same time on election night, rolling out these election results, which makes it a lot more high stakes than the primaries, which we've been doing lately. So, yeah, it is going to be a big night for us, and we're gearing up not just to support that night, but also, as the slide explains, kind of extending that cycle. So we're not just concerned with election night. We want to get our voter guides out to readers so they have information about what's on their ballot, editorials. The newsrooms want to publish editorials. And we've also, for the first time, dived into how to, in a simple way, translate using Google Translate our information for voter guides to reach a broader audience. So in California, in Texas, serving those voter guides up in Spanish is a huge service for them. And I think California is also exploring Chinese. For campaign finance trackers, we have information about national and state level how different candidates are raising money. And that cadence increases as you get closer to election day. So it'll be interesting to keep an eye on who's raising more money, who's raising money from where. That's always interesting to readers. Cannot discount the importance of election night results. We're going to be watching the pages as results roll in. They roll in throughout the night. Usually you see some shifting between results. So, we need to support those pages. We need to support those embeds. So, home pages are a big concern for us. We want to make sure the home pages have, whatever election results they think are most important, whether that's local or the national story. So we produce a ton of embeds for election night as well. And then, lots of other kind of election content afterwards, like how your neighborhood voted. We get detailed precinct results after. Delegate trackers showing who won the primary, although that turned out to be a pretty done deal for us. And then, interactive FAQs showing how to vote, where's your polling place, that kind of stuff. So really supporting our readers in this crazy election year. And we'll go to the next slide. This is our climate and weather stuff with, all the effects of climate change. California is certainly feeling it. Texas is certainly feeling it. We are going big on weather coverage, and our trackers are a huge part of that. So we've got new meteorology teams in the markets. They do, regular work that incorporates data. We've created a new template to help support that work, so they can pretty easily say, okay, what does the 3-day forecast look like in this area? Or what does the 3-day, snow totals look like for this area? They're able to quickly spin that up, and it supplements the work they do. Our trackers have always been hugely important. The California Fire Tracker was the first of many. So, folks would kind of use it as a resource. Where's the fire in my area? Where have the fires been this year? How big is the fire perimeter? We've added to that. So we doubled down on that effort. We've added air quality trackers. With fire comes smoke, and you get really awful air quality that prevents people from going outside. So they want to know, where's the smoke? How bad is it? Where's the wind blowing? Are we dealing with smoke that's going to linger, or is it going to move in the next couple hours? We've got heat trackers. It's not just fire, but also heat. Is my area critically severe heat that's going to prevent people from going outside? You can see the Texas heat tracker down there. We've done them for all the markets as well. So it's nice when we come across a national data set we can produce for all of our markets. We take these national data sets and regionalize them, and we work closely with the markets to make sure it's telling the story that's going to matter for their readers. And then we do a lot of data hits. So we get in and we do these specific stories about, so not just a tracker, but like maybe snow totals. We do kind of a coverage story that we work with the data teams, and we do one-off stories along with these trackers. So we're doing a lot with weather climate data these days.
And a quick question here would be around hyper personalization of content. So since a lot of this content is it looks great, but a lot of folks would be interested in, let's say, air quality, and some would be concerned with smoke or what have you. So how are you able to deliver personalized content to your audiences, or is that a journey that you're kind of just starting out on right now?
That is a very timely question. you alluded to PII earlier, and that's something we've got to, deal with carefully in terms of like, if you share your location with us, can we tell you something in return? Can we tell you how close the fire is or how bad the air quality is? These are certainly things we're thinking about, but we've got to, work through our legal channels, figure out what we're allowed to capture, how we're allowed to deliver those notifications. But yeah, I think that's a frontier for us for sure. And then data dives, like Tim mentioned, the markets have their own local data reporters, and they do really high quality work. San Francisco's got incredible data team. Nami Sumida does a lot of these really incredible, innovative charts. This is called like a bee swarm chart. You can kind of see the swarm of bees there, but public employee salaries. This does huge numbers in our markets. Everyone wants to know how highly paid their public employees are. So, one of the markets will do a really high quality data piece. The other markets see it, or we, present it to the markets. We have these weekly check-ins. Often we're able to take that work done in a market and bring that around to the rest of the group, publish that story in multiple places. So that's always great. Education analyses. Yeah, we're also doing doing projects around education and inequality. So kind of blending those together, different outcomes, what people can expect in their area. Again, bringing it back to the local market. Housing is a massive story in all the metro areas in the US. So housing is so unaffordable, especially, folks just coming up now, they want to buy a house. It's nearly impossible. So people always keeping an eye on those numbers and interested in the fluctuations. So we've partnered with Redfin just recently to get some new data. We've partnered for a long time with Zillow to get kind of like regional trends. So we're combining those two data sources to publish some really cool housing trackers. And then a really nice initiative is the database of data, which came out of our team. We publish a lot of data stories, and traditionally we've just kind of moved on to the next one. It's the news cycle. We just like go publish the next story. Well, keeping a database of what you've published, where the data source is, how easy was it to get the data, how reproducible is it, is a great way to keep a record of what you've done already. The other markets can see that. They can say, hey, this was really easy, or hey, this was really hard, but paid a lot of dividends for us. So we're just starting to keep kind of a very visual, internal interactive page about like our history of data stories. We're excited to start working on that.
So the data catalog in the IT world is what we call. These are beautiful
Exactly
visualizations,
right.
by the way. These are beautiful.
Oh, thank you. Yes, our team is so talented. And then yes, doubling down on inequality. There's inequality is always a problem, but it's certainly getting worse now. So we're examining inequality in our markets, and projects kind of in that vein include ER wait times. So in different hospitals in different areas, how long does it take to get seen in the ER? What percentage of folks are getting turned away at the ER without even being seen? School segregation, I talked a bit about that. How bad is segregation getting? It seems like areas are getting worse as folks pull their kids out to go to private school. Home ownership, how many folks own their homes versus rent? You're seeing those numbers diverge. And then climate risk. I mean, this is like a classic story, but you'll see, folks of lower socioeconomic status in areas that are more affected by heat, more affected by smoke. So, just running those numbers, like really getting that story out to folks.
Yeah, I just love this home ownership thing that you had, where buying a home took 2.7 years. This is a great way of storytelling. Really nice.
Yeah, I think it gets at the data angle that a lot of people feel. It's like it feels impossible. Like it shouldn't. It can't have been this way, and it hasn't been. So it's just like really showing people what they're up against now. And this is what Tim mentioned, the C2P program, which we're really proud of. It's really been able to give the newsrooms the keys to do some innovative storytelling. It came out of just a need. We were in the markets. Tim and I were both in San Francisco. We would publish a cool timeline, and then someone in the newsroom would say, "Hey, can we do a timeline again?" And I would say, "Yeah, absolutely." But what that means is like me and that reporter, we have to partner, put together that timeline, very bespoke, very manual, and we republish that work. Well, it would be great if they could just enter that data somewhere, publish that data, and use that template that's already built, right? So I'll go into a bit of the details when we get to the tech stack about how we were able to put that together. but it has been a massively successful program. We produce hundreds and hundreds of interactive projects this way, building templates that work for storytelling needs in these newsrooms, and then, like I said, giving them the keys.
So can I ask a question about the origins of a data story, for example? Does it originate from the news desk, or are you is the DevHub team sort of a news desk in its own right, and it comes up with the idea that let's do a story around housing, and this is how it's going to be visualized, and then it gets published, or does it come from the news desk? How does it?
Yeah.
Where's the sort of balance?
Yeah, I can answer that. So we purposefully build a strategy where we want ideas to flow both ways. And then if I don't know if it's triangulating it, but like it also, we want them flowing from market to market through the DevHub, right? So like a good idea happens in San Francisco, we want to be able to take that through the DevHub, in an efficient way and get it out to the other markets. But some of the big ideas come from Evan's team or the more visual storytelling team on the DevHub. Some of the best ideas come from a data reporter in San Antonio or Connecticut or wherever. And, we hope that we can help spotlight those ideas and accelerate them and make them even bigger. Sometimes, a journalist in the market just absolutely nails it, and we go, wow, that's we got to figure out how to scale this thing. So really, it makes it more complicated, right? Like it'd be much easier if it was just like, yeah, we're just going to top down you and, we got ideas and now just publish them on your site. But, we've just found, and it's common sense, I guess, that, if you open it up and let everybody kind of have a piece of the ideation, then you're going to end up with better work for your readers in the end.
That sounds good. And how long does it take you guys to come up with sort of one template that's good to go?
Yeah, I think it depends, but we're building fewer new templates now and doing more like data-driven stories that are kind of within the same framework, because we've kind of worked out the different components in a way where it's now we can use the embeddable map template, and that takes care of all these different kind of needs. And we can take a navigation component that we built and put that with an embeddable map. So we've really made more of a component infrastructure that we're able to really quickly turn out higher level interactive stories like that housing thing that you mentioned. But with development, it could be any kind of timeline based on how complicated or intricate it is. But we work on a pretty quick turnaround where a week or two of development, we kind of expect something, just because we don't want the news to pass us by. We got to kind of move pretty quick compared with like a traditional product infrastructure type development team.
And I promised we would talk about the tech stack. So this is mostly how the C2Ps work, but really how most of our content works. So I think the thing that was the light bulb for the C2P program was, I work in code. I'm building React components. The newsroom does not understand React components and, would never be able to write one. But where we kind of meet in the middle is Google Sheets. Google Sheets is great for me because it's structured data, right? I can take that in, parse it. The headers become keys. The rows become items in a list. And it's great for the newsroom because every journalist coming in now understands how to get into Google Sheets, enter data, reference data. So everyone feels comfortable there. So it's perfect. That's where the data lives for all of our C2Ps and really most of our projects. Some text in our templates is hard coded, but almost everything, headlines, bylines, credits. For a top list, it would be like listings. You'd have listings that maybe 100 rows of them. And the listings would include things like image IDs and their own photos and their own captions. So all of that data comes in through a Google Sheet, and it ends up in our S3 bucket. And that's really just a queue that our cloud server, so that's the EC2 up there in the cloud, is constantly checking. Is there more stuff to deploy? Is there more stuff to deploy? If yes, we found a new file to deploy, we go grab it, and then the file will tell us, oh, we need this template, which is over in GitHub. So the server asks GitHub, send me that template. Server gets the template and it builds it. So it's running the same build process we could run locally, but the cloud's running all hours of the day. So it builds that project, which our development stack is going to be Gatsby JS right now. So that's just a framework wrapped around React, and React is just, fancy JavaScript. We run Node to support that. So everyone on their development machines is running Node, which runs Gatsby to develop locally. They can make changes, see those locally, but at the end of the day, they're pushing it over to the GitHub repo. So now those changes are on GitHub. When the cloud server grabs it, they grab all the changes. The build just exports static files, which are great. So CSS, HTML, JavaScript comes out. And then once we have those static files, it's put on a set of dual virtual machines. So that's server 1, server 2. Those are set up through our digital initiative team, which is great. It's not us, but they manage all of our cloud infrastructure. And it's been super reliable. It's been great. So that's how our static files got online. This is different than how it's going to be soon. As Tim mentioned, we are more and more integrating into the new CMS system. So I can talk about that too, if you like, or if this is sufficient, we could move on to the next slide.
No, sure. You can go ahead with the new. Is that something you guys are building out on your own? The new CMS too?
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of an ambitious thing. Our product team, which is not us, traditionally central team manages the CMS, found it hard to hire folks using their very old tech stack. And they knew they had to modernize both their front end and probably their back end soon. But when they chose to modernize the front end, they chose to do it with React. And I thought that was the perfect opportunity to take what we were doing in our sandbox and incorporate our work into the new CMS. So this is our sandbox flow. But what it's going to be in maybe a year's time is one big mono repo that has a GraphQL backend, talks to MongoDB, where all of our data lives. That's the source of truth. And we have our own little corner of it in the front end folder. There's a bunch of services that run out of this thing, but we've got our own little corner we've carved out called the DevHub folder. And in that, we've started to build our bespoke components. But one of the most exciting things about that is instead of us having to kind of like follow and catch up to where product decides, new links should be in the footer, or a new account sign up information should be in the header. Oh, we're going to add a new gift button. So that's in the byline. Now we have to modify our sandbox to add the little gift button. No. Instead, now we can just import their footer, import their header, import their byline, and then our interactive content is just components on that page. So very excited for that change, and that's coming soon.
Sounds good.
So I'll cede back to Tim to talk AI, unless we're breaking.
Right. Yeah. Well, thanks very much for your time, and we'll move on to the generative AI topic now.